All right, I'm very excited to bring in this week's guest for the feedback show. Of course, that he is a legendary YouTuber. If you are a Survivor fan, of course, he has great breakdowns about all sorts of Survivor subjects, Big Brother subjects, and more. Please welcome the great Peridiam to talk today. Peridiam, how are you?
Rob, I'm good. It's been 2.5 years. I'm excited to be here. I'm really
Yeah.
happy to be here. It's a good time.
Yeah, I'm glad that we were able to do this here for season 41. I mean, I will say, in fairness, there was a whole year where we didn't have any new Survivor to talk about.
Oh yeah, no, it's totally cool. Not having Survivor around, it's been quiet. I've spent a lot
Hmm.
of my time playing Among Us with the
Yes.
RHAP network.
Hmm.
So that's been keeping my microphone turned on and my
Yeah.
video occasionally turned on. So yeah, no, I'm totally cool. No big deal. Last time we spoke, we were just hearing about Winners at War behind the scenes, and here we are, like a year after the season's already done.
Yeah.
It's time flies.
Pretty, you're a fixture on Puya's Among Us games. Who's the best Among Us player in all of the RHAP podcasters?
That's a good question. I think it depends on the role because you can play as the good guys or the bad guys. I think when
Who
it
are the
comes to
good
the good guy,
guys? Who are the bad guys?
I'm gonna say for the good guys team, I usually, if I'm a bad guy, who do I fear the most? And I'm gonna be
Hmm.
honest, it's probably Taryn.
Yeah.
He's
Yeah.
very good at just sort of reading voices and occasionally body language, even in the
Hmm.
game. When it comes to being the bad guy, I think I'm gonna give it to like the players who tend to win the most. I fear the most the people I do not see coming, and I usually will say that's either Jenny Autumn, or maybe
Hmm.
Lavina.
Mm.
Those two.
Okay.
Those are the
Yeah.
two I don't see coming.
I'm thinking now, how do you think Penner would do at Among Us?
I don't. I'd like to know. That's a good question.
Imposter. And
Yeah,
then it's
I'd be living. I'd be
bones.
living for
I
just
was
somebody
in electrical, and you know it.
call him out and just. I want his reaction
I was
to.
doing the task.
Yeah,
I
of
had
course.
the leaves and the credit card.
Like my ass.
My
Just
ass. Yeah.
exactly. I don't know. I'd be interested in hearing Penner go toe to toe with some people in the RHCP network talking about whether he was in electrical or not. I don't know. I love it though. It'd be funny. I've seen a couple
I
of
was
Among Us.
working in Shields.
I've seen some Big Brother players play it. They're pretty entertaining at times. I've seen
Hmm.
some Survivors play it a couple of times. I know
Yeah.
Tyson played it at one point.
Hmm. Yeah.
But yeah, no,
Right.
it's been my off season.
Yeah, and pretty for anybody who is unfamiliar with what you do, could you tell people in your own words a little bit of what you're focused on your YouTube channel?
Yeah, so I talk about this little show we all know about, Survivor.
Hmm.
Um, I have been doing it now. Actually, what's as of this week, this is going to be my 4th year anniversary this week. I started it in October 17th of 2017.
Oh,
And yeah, it's wild. And so for the last 4 years, I've been making at least one new video about Survivor, or if Big Brother's on, I talk about Big Brother every single week. One new video.
yeah.
That's the bar I set myself at a long time ago, and I've been living up to it. And yeah, it's been like that for 4 straight years. Every week, Wednesdays, a new video goes out about something either
Yeah.
related to the latest season or something random like Squid Game,
Yeah.
and that's it.
Well,
So
I
yeah.
love what you do because I feel like that you are not like beholden to the format of, okay, well, this is the recap of what happened, where, you take something that happened on the show and then you have to come up with like an idea that is like somehow connected, but it is not just like the same thing week in and week out. And I feel like that is something that I think is probably a great challenge. And I really, admire your creativity to be able to do that week in and week out.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it's I spend a lot of time like brainstorming random
Hmm.
stuff and thinking about kooky, weird ideas that come out of left field, or ideas that I'm like, this is just something that I've never talked about, but probably I
Hmm.
know it would like generate a lot of interest, or it's spur of the moment. And it's like I watched Squid Game last week, and I just was like, this is weird, and I think I could relate this to Survivor. And I was going to bed one night, and
Yeah.
all of a sudden I woke up and I just said like I have an idea for a random video. Who are the Survivor players that would crush this Netflix show that's all the
Hmm.
rage right now? And all
Hmm.
of a sudden, yeah. So it's just been a lot of brainstorming. I try to flesh out like my schedule for like the next 3 months of like. I started out with I have a long master list of ideas that are still in my inbox of pre the very first video in 2017 that I never got around to. Like the first video I ever started trying to work on was trying to randomly like rank the states, the best states in Survivor, how they performed. And I don't think I've ever
How's
once
Wyoming doing?
you know, I think it was not on the board at the time. And after this week, it I guess is probably still not doing a great job. But characterization, I loved it. I would like to visit it maybe just to see what they're like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, okay, well, I think that again, what you do, it's such a great companion piece to with the kind of stuff that we're doing on the podcast, and I really admire how you are able to take a subject that I think would take me and Mike Bloom 3 hours to do in a podcast and do it in like 16 minutes in a video. So,
Yeah.
incredible work that Peridiam is doing over on YouTube. Let's talk a little bit about this season of Survivor first. Pretty, of course, that as we've heard many times on Survivor,
It's a new era.
new era. I'm sorry, that's Brad with the very excited delivery of the new era of Survivor. What are you making of Survivor 41 through 4 hours of show?
Yes. I have enjoyed it. I'm generally more of a cup half full person, so I will look for the good even if there's things that I'm not always in love with.
Hmm.
And I'm never fully in love with everything that goes down, but
Yeah.
when it comes to this season, I was over the moon about the premiere episode. I had a great time watching that. I wish every episode could be 2 hours
Hmm.
or something like that because I felt like that really gave us a good idea of the breadth of the entire cast and the direction the show's going. And I'm a big fan of strategy, so like seeing new gameplay elements pop up, which to me feels I wouldn't say it's a watershed moment in the show's history, but we're seeing like the direction the show's going with the strategy focus, and I'm okay with that. I think though I have some questions to talk about in relation to how it's gonna manifest in the episodes going forward,
Hmm.
and what that's gonna look like for this season, for next season, and maybe the future. But ultimately, I'm pretty good so far through 3 episodes, and I think most generally I get a good tempo after a couple of episodes of how I'm gonna feel about the season. I think this is gonna be a decent season at the very least. I don't think unless something crazy blindsides us at the last second that I'm not a fan of. I'm enjoying it, and I'm looking forward to it every week still. So
I
that's where
think
I'm at.
it's interesting to take a look at, they had this super long layoff of, that they filmed the Survivor Winners at War, I think finished filming what in the summer of 2019. And then they filmed
Hmm.
this season earlier this year. So almost like 2 years of layoff in between when they finished filming season 40 till now. What has struck you on the terms of the things that they came back after 2 years and have been like really focused on? Okay, this is where we want to go with this show as we enter this new era of Survivor.
I think the biggest thing that struck me was how Jeff is really trying to make it more of a family show
Hmm.
in a way, and the presentation of it is like the game within the game, which doesn't really bother me because it's so minor, but it's an interesting idea. And I'm like going onto the website that he's pitching and
Yeah.
listening to his 30-second things.
Can I just say real quick that, by the way, like I introduced the game within the game to my kids, and they were both like super into the game within the game. So
Were
like
they? Okay.
I like again, like I don't know how much like Survivor is trying to target like 8-year-olds and kids in that generation to be watching Survivor, because I feel like a lot of times they talk about things on this show that are not necessarily
Yeah,
like
right.
suited for that particular age group, but they were very into the game within the game.
Interesting. Yeah, I don't have kids, and so I watched it, and then I went on did this word scramble, and it was like NRU, and I was like, or it was actually one of them was OTEV, but it was veto, but it wasn't either. It was actually vote.
Yeah, can I just explain? So if you haven't done the game within the game, you solve the Rebus puzzle. That's what they do in the show. And then Jeff comes on and he's in like this very weird, like Dharma Initiative jumpsuit. And he's like, all right, great. You just solved the puzzle. Okay, just imagine that I'm like in your head and I'm standing behind you. And now, okay, now you're going to unscramble the words. And that I have to say that first off, this was super. I think it was maybe for this one. So yeah, so they give you the letters like NRU, and my kids are like, Dad, so easy, run, that's it. And then they hit the button, and then they're like, Dad, I don't understand. It's run. Run is the word. Run is the word. And then like I realized like no, it's earn. But like kids don't know what an earn is.
Sure. Makes them think like, wait, this is Survivor related. What's the word Survivor related? Like,
right.
Yeah. I agree.
A little bit like it's broken. Doesn't work. Run. You run on Survivor.
You have to like solve the Rebus puzzle, and then it allows you to go to part 2, which is the word scramble.
Yeah.
It's an interesting take. I've never.
Yeah. And then Jeff like gives you like a super like specific. All right, now I'm gonna put you in it. I'm gonna tell you about something that's coming up next week. Okay. There's going to be imagine there's a boat and the boat comes and then you get in the boat, but then you tell everybody that I think that part is going like a little bit over the kids' heads where they like, I can barely follow the whole like hypothetical situation.
Yeah. I haven't really listened to Jeff as much. I'm just there to do the word scramble and call it a day. I'm hoping to get something at the end. What if I do all of them? But we'll see. We'll see. Get an invitation to the finale. Oh, wait, no, it's pre-taped. Never mind. Anyway, so that struck me as interesting.
Yeah.
We'll go on hop in the Zoom call. There's an even heavier focus on the advantages and like incorporating that. I feel like I'm like, Jeff has talked about this monster and it's becoming clear. Like, I wonder, like, I think in some weird way, I think Jeff is the monster in a strange way. Jeff's big brain is the monster. He's, I see these beware advantages, the summit, it's just, I'm like, this is definitely all Jeff. I can see it, I can feel it, and I'm okay. I actually really appreciate Jeff's passion and drive to just keep the show bigger and bigger and bigger. There's the question of if it isn't broke, don't fix it. Is it breaking now? I don't know. But either way, like seeing all that happen is definitely a new direction for the show, and I'm interested to see where it culminates with the numerous extra votes, the vote steals, the just like the sky's the limit right now. So
yeah,
that's like the 2 years off. It feels like Jeff is like, all right, break the fourth wall. He's like the Kool-Aid man breaking the fourth wall out of the jungle.
Like Rick Evans, yeah.
A little bit. That was what surprised me initially. I haven't seen too many fourth wall breaks that are like so egregious like they were in the premiere, where they were very noticeable at the
he really just did it there, and then also before Tribal Council, and then we didn't even get that one from he didn't do it at all in week 3.
Yeah, and then I think another huge thing is the editing and the backstories. Taking a page out of, I guess, Australian Survivor. And like having it, and maybe that's even, I don't watch much reality beyond Survivor or the international versions or Big Brother in the international version, so I don't know. I've heard that other shows have done this. This is a pretty common thing in reality TV, so I don't really know that much about it. I've never really been against it. Watching it on Australian Survivor, how they will sort of pull you out of the island and into like this person's apartment or whatever. They used to kind of do this like old school, where they would show us clips of the person like randomly standing in their office or something. I don't know if they did that for you in the Amazon.
So it didn't make the air, but we did film that. Like they're like, okay, let's film you in front of the sign for your town. And they like took me to like, okay, now let's take you to your office and film you. There was like, they sent like 2 guys to my house to film like a bunch of B-roll, but they didn't end up using it. But that this was something that, I haven't had a chance to talk about on the podcast, where The Australian Survivor, what I noticed, and I got to talk with Shannon Gus, of course, who is the world's biggest Survivor fan, does a great job covering
She's
all of
great.
the international Survivor seasons for RHAP's podcast, and also covering the current Survivor season on Survivor Global. That when I watch that, I love how they do it in Australian Survivor. I think I noticed like a little bit of a shift between what they do in Australian Survivor with the flashbacks and what they do here. I feel like that the Australian Survivor focuses on, they do that sort of like intro package, and they are focused on who this person is and what is their superpower. This is like sort of like they sort of like try to treat it like it's like the MCU. Let's introduce Peridiam, and like what they don't know about me is like that I like have the ability I can turn straw into gold on YouTube of like taking stuff from all these different shows, and that each person like has like they really treat it like this is like my hidden strength that nobody knows that I have, and this is how I'm going to use it to win the game. US Survivor is they've used the flashback to tell you like this is what I'm playing for. This is not about like, this is like that we don't see anything about like here's why I will win the game. Here, this is why I'm on Survivor. This is the trauma. This is the experience I'm pulling from. This is who I'm playing for. But it's more about the why than the Australian Survivor version, which I think is more about that this is how.
Yeah, I was thinking about that too. How like I think Dirty Harry on Australian Survivor had like this whole making up a fake kid strategy and how he was going to implement that and how it was working out for a while. And I thought that was so cool and different. And like that's what I was hoping to get a little more out of these backstories. I do appreciate that. They are sometimes it gets a little heavy-handed when it's like constantly about their trauma and like the things that they've experienced that have led them today. I do occasionally wish we, and I'm thinking like, you know what, look, I'm hoping Survivor goes on for a long time, so if this is just the beginning, then I like hearkening it, drop the 4, keep the 1 or whatever. If this is the beginning of this new editing style and what they choose to do with it, maybe next season or a couple seasons down the line we'll get more of like that, where they're able to take the backstory and turn it into like a funny bit or talking about how they're going to implement their backstory and like utilize it as a strategy or something or another, as opposed to it simply being like the motivation and the fuel for them, or maybe both, maybe a little bit of both. I think that if I don't mind it at all, I think it's a very good way of like getting to know somebody really quickly in a short period of time, expediting it a little bit, as opposed to like figuring out who they are from like random confessionals throughout episodes. This is like just a dollop of like personal content right then and there. We get to know a lot about them in about 45 seconds. I think that's efficient. I think it's very powerful. And, it's nice to see people's faces of the family that they're playing for. They're playing for a kid. I think that was emphasized last year in Winners at War a lot when Jeff had the family visit, brought in everyone's loved one. Seeing the kids and all that really showed us like this is where the money is going in a way, and like this is what they're supporting, who they're there for. So yeah, I'm okay with it.
And I don't want to say like that the Australian Survivor version is better or worse for I'm sure for each person like it hits different. That for me, like just in getting involved in like the strategy of the show, like I loved getting the superpower version of each person, but I can understand that. I think that US Survivor is very much focused on sort of like the journey of the players as opposed to the game itself. And I think that, with all of the advantages and lose a vote and get a vote, like I really think that Survivor doesn't want the viewers to be as concerned about the game. Like I think that what the show they're trying to make is that this is a show about overcoming adversity, and like don't even think about like it's the monster's chasing you, just don't even worry about like who has what vote and everything that's going on with like the game mechanics, like because I feel like that the way that it's structured, it's like that they don't really want you to care that much about it. It's just more about that who these people are and why they're there, and what they're going to come out as on the other side of this thing.
Yeah, I do think that's a slightly different direction too from previous seasons.
Well, I think
With
it's been going that way for a while. Where
you
I think
do,
that's
okay.
that's where like, and I think the Edge of Extinction was like another like encapsulation of that. Where the whole point of the Edge of Extinction was like, just what can people overcome when they like what are they willing to do to be on Survivor, and what is that journey look like, and let's make them carry logs up and down the hill just to see if they can do it, and see what's your story at the end of this whole thing. And
Do you
so
think it started there, or could you trace it even further back? If you had to
Suri
guess, what do
crossing
you
the
think?
beam, I
Yeah.
think is like, I just think that the show is like, that I don't want to say that like strategy is out the window, but I do think that, like in the 30s, especially, I think that we've come to a point where, forget heroes versus villains. Survivor is a show about heroes versus heroes. We want, and the show wants you to be
Versus
rooting for,
hustlers.
personally invest. Yeah, and forget the hustlers too. They want you to be personally invested in the lives of each and every one of these players and seeing what they do. Even like I felt like that in the tribal council from this week. JD talked about his experience, and he opened up about how he looked up to a lot of the players from the past, and so even if he had a short version of his Survivor experience, that he was very grateful to have gotten the chance to play. And listen to what Jeff says in response to what JD said.
In just 7 days, you've already impacted people just like you were impacted, of all ages, to not fear fear.
To not fear fear. What that wasn't even what he was what he said.
Yeah. It reminded me a little of David from Millennials Gen X a little with that.
Yeah.
I felt like he was talking to the wrong player, but yeah.
But I think that the
Love,
show,
fear.
and I think that what Jeff wants to give you is that this is a show about people facing adversity, going into a this very tough, dire situation, and persevering through it, not giving up, and that it's sort of like the message of the show is you too can accomplish anything through following the lives of like watch how these people are doing it.
Yeah.
And this is why they're doing it.
I think we've had nuggets of that leading up to this. The made more emphasis on it. Now that I'm really thinking about it, going back to say even a season that is very much known for how strategy heavy it is in Cambodia, but seeing how a lot of the success stories in that were about Spencer's growth arc, finding love, the ability to love, or seeing Jeremy playing for his family and his wife, and that was a very predominant like focus. Like even to this day, people still are like, oh yeah, if it was that sob story, that's what people remember. They take from it. But it really wasn't. It was just a part of the motivation for why Jeremy was doing what he was part of his strategy. You look at Adam Klein and Millennials Gen X with his story being such a focal point, or David and his fear a little bit. He's afraid of dying, and that became such a strong. And then of course you mentioned Suri and the balance beam. So yeah, this has been sort of a recurring thing that's, I think, with the Edge, and that's a good point with the Edge of Extinction. And I do think that was one of the biggest seasons I noticed from an editing perspective, because I do look at that a lot. I think that's one of the most, I don't know if I want to say it was like it was very different how they edited the Edge compared to how they usually edit. And in really the whole season as a whole, I've used that season. I've made videos talking about editing techniques and narrative storytelling that the show has changed up in the last few seasons. And I really think the Edge of Extinction was like the first season to really go all out with it. And that's both on the edge and off of it. And I was excited to see that, because a lot of Survivor starts to feel the same the more you watch it. You go further back, they all tend to feel the exact same way. They're edited the same way. It's really switched up. And then also this now using the backstories and emphasizing the why of how every player is there for. And we really know, like at this point, I think at least half the cast still in the game has those flashbacks. A couple of players have had multiple. And it's sort of changed the viewing experience a little bit, whether we know it or not. It's been slowly building up to it. It's been more and more emphasized. So I'm curious to see what they're. I'm actually like I really am positive about that. I'm curious to see where they go with that and how they take advantage of it to tell the story of the players. If that's Jeff has said that he wants to make the seasons more about the people and less about these themes or the forced casting that they've been doing. Like here's a David tribe. What does that mean? Here's the millennial tribe. What does it mean to be a millennial and how you text your mom or whatever? That's a little bit forced, and I think people roll their eyes. Whereas, like, you know what, we're not going to force it. Maybe we'll let the people show up, and we cast them for a reason. So let those
Yeah.
reasons come out instead of, So
Yeah.
yeah.
It's hard. It's like a double-edged sword, and I'm trying to like spin this in a positive way because I feel like that people are very focused on like, hey, we are watch Survivor for the characters. We want to see the characters stop so much with all of the fugazi extra vote and stop with all this extra stuff. But at the same time, the show is like very focused on like giving you the like sort of like arc of these characters in terms of like their lives and their purpose on the show. So I do feel like they are trying to highlight the players, but I think that because that's sort of like the theme of the season and the theme of the show is giving you this like this arc of like the personal growth of our characters and what they're overcoming, that I think it can feel a little bit forced.
Yeah. And I think that's sort of a slight, I would say, if I was really trying to dig into it, be an armchair analyst, which is what I am anyway. But is like there's somewhat of an identity, I wouldn't say identity crisis, but it feels something similar to that, where they have so much emphasis both on the how or the why of these people and who they are, and that Jeff wants the seasons to play out like who they cast and let the cast define the season. But then also it feels like it was most relevant for this episode, the episode 3. But like every scene was not about the people as much as it was about the game and the parchment, the paper, the Beware advantages. We saw 3 of them come out this episode. We saw the steal a vote talk about. We saw them go to the spooky Summit Island, which, to be fair, I want to say that again, I go back to like the positive too, where there's actually a lot of personal content that comes out in the cracks or leads up to these advantages popping out. I've rewatched the episode now twice, taken a lot of notes, and like I've seen a lot of commentary where a lot of fans have been very upset about how many super fans are very upset about how many advantages there are. It's very complicated, very confusing, and I do wonder if the overall sentiment between like there's a heavy focus on who these people are and their backstories, but then also like we're not really seeing a lot of them sometimes, it feels like, because it's all in relation. The conversation seems to be circulating around less about how these people feel about each other and more about how they feel about the advantages and what that means for each person. I don't know. Yeah. How do you feel about all that? That's a lot.
I just like have sort of like come to terms with the fact that like I think that the show doesn't want you to think that much about all of the idols and advantages. I think that they feel like, okay, just come with us on this ride. Just don't worry about it. And I know that, hey, like the people that like listen to these podcasts are, hey, like, no, we're the super fans. We want to know, like, okay, what happens if this? Because we're gonna think about it all week long, and like, what happens if this? What happens if this? And I think that Jeff is like, hey, don't worry about it. Like, I don't like. How did you even figure out that 1 in 6 is 16%? Like, why are you thinking about this so much? Just feel the show. Like, don't think so much about the show.
I do think that's somewhat worked out. Like, I was talking to my family last night. They're very casual about all of it, but they watch it. They watch it because they know I love it, and they've gotten to enjoy it too. It's not The Bachelor. My sister likes The Bachelor, but it's decent. They have a decent success rate of showmances, I think. Actually, that's Big Brother. She watches Big Brother too. But I was asking them, just giving me their, just give me your ballpark spitball.
What'd they say?
What do they think? My mom was the first to talk, and she actually said she wasn't all that confused about the advantages because of what you said. She's kind of just feeling her way through the episode, isn't thinking a ton about it. She understands what's going on, but it's a lot. She doesn't fully, like, if I press her on it, she probably couldn't go too deep into the complications of the vote. But, you know, she was like, oh, that Brad guy was trusting that Shan, and that was such a bad call. And, you know, but she generally got the gist of it. I don't think any of I talked to my mom, my sister, my brother-in-law, and all three of them were pretty okay with the overall advantages and all that. My brother-in-law did want to be like, I do wish there was more talk about the people, and we got to know them more. He's like, I've watched he's binged a lot of Survivor. He became a recent fan, and so he's seen how the evolution is charted. And he's like, you know, I do kind of miss those moments of the camp with the people more, and it's like more jokey, and there's not like Parchment and Beware advantages. But he's like, I don't mind it. It's not that big a deal. So that was the casual for my family, from my anecdotal tiny experience of asking the people on the street. They seem to be okay with it for the most part. So I didn't have as strong of a reaction as I might, or as I've seen by a lot of super fans.
I know. And we're in our bubble of like that. We want to know exactly how this, wait, hold on. You know, that like, could you split the vote? Could you do this? Could you like, what could you play that other thing where I think that for the show and the show, I think is doing well. It beat The Masked Singer for the first time in the ratings this week. I think that the millions and millions of people watched this show. And I think that the Survivor's like, look, we're just going to crystallize it. It's either Brad is going home. I don't mean to bring up crystals like JD did. Either Brad is going home or JD is going home. Like for the audience, it's like they get to tribal council. It's like going to be either a binary choice. Either it's Brad's name is going to come up or JD's name is going to come up. And they're not really going to think too much about the mechanics of like how that ultimately is going to come to be.
Yeah. Yeah, it's much more of like an amusement park ride almost, and you're just here for the ride. You're experiencing. You're in the boat. You're literally point of view is the boat pulling up to the spooky beach, and we're here for the ride. What's gonna happen? I have no idea. Where
it's sort of like, you know, and maybe this is like the bad example, but like, you know, you go watch like the Avengers, and you know, wait, hold on, wait, how did where did Tony Stark get this money from? How is he doing this? Like, what happened in this? Or like Doctor Strange is gonna split the universe? Like, hold on, what? And you know, if you just go along for that ride and aren't really questioning that, you may have a more enjoyable experience.
Also, the secret scenes, I've watched them on the CBS website. They're pretty good. Like, they give me a few 6-10 minutes every week of more stuff. And I'm sad they're not on the actual episode sometimes, but they do flesh out the experience a little more if you're a super fan and you're listening.
What's been a favorite of yours?
Oh, for sure, Heather.
Heather with the Dream?
Heather in the Dream. It was like going full Shambo. I never thought I'd see the Shambo strategy coming back to materialize, but...
Yeah,
I
watched
that.
one this week. Jeannie caught a clam, and for all those people that are like, we need the camp life, go watch Jeannie catch a clam. Does Jeannie caught a clam? She cooked it. They ate it. They're like, that's pretty good.
Was there a Beware advantage in the clam?
No, but it wasn't. Okay. Like, you know, I think the people like, we long for camp life. Like, listen, take it from somebody who's lived camp life. Like, you're not missing that much. It's not that exciting.
Yeah, I guess, you know, they cut down by a third of the season. So there's no more camp days of just doing nothing, just sitting around. Everything's go, go, go. And it's sort of, this is like, I was curious. I was like, we're going into this new season. It's a third less. I wouldn't be surprised, to be honest, if Survivor stays at 26 days. I don't know for sure. I haven't heard anything. Yeah. But I heard that for the first time a while ago. And I thought, I could see that. Like, they don't necessarily, it's like trimming the fat. To get to the meat and potatoes of the entire experience. I don't know. Maybe we don't need the Jeannie catching the clam to make air, or at least in front of us in the 42-minute package. Yeah. I mean, I do think that just like big picture in terms of like, you know, if you had a 26-day Survivor season and then you cut 14 days off there, 14 days off there, like on the other side with, you know, with 2 seasons in a year, like, does that open the door? Could you film a third Survivor season in a year? Is that a possibility? But I do feel like that in terms of like budgeting and stuff like that, that's like really matters a lot for like the bottom line and the overall health of the show. Like, I mean, in theory, you're going to be cutting the cost of the show by what, 30%, 33%. So I think it really does help like sort of like the long-term viability of Survivor of the 20, like, honestly, as somebody who's done it, like, you know, 38 days, like you like,
you could speed it up. It's you are not going to be losing that much, and I really don't think that as a viewer it's going to be that it's going to affect you that much.
And as somebody who hasn't done it, I can't relate.
Mhm.
But
Yeah. And I think that once we get to the merge, I think that the gameplay is going to be very fast paced, and I think that you're going to have like I don't know what number we're going to merge at, but I don't like the big merges, so I think we're going to get maybe a merge with like 9 or 10 people, with like how it used to be, as opposed to like merging at 13, and you get some really boring votes at like the like 9-4, 10-3 merge vote. And we spend a lot of time in the modern day Survivor season dealing with like the final 12 vote, the final 11 vote, and we're just so far away from the end game, and we spend a lot of the time of the season dealing with these like really big tribes and figuring out like these first couple of votes of the merge. If we could sort of like get down to brass tacks and we get into a merge where it's a little bit like 9 people, 10 people, 8 people, and spend more time there, I think that, we're going to probably be better served on the TV show.
I mean, I think the way the season's currently panning out in 41,
Knock on
I don't
wood.
even, yeah, of course. I'm also a big fan of having smaller merges, also smaller juries. I've always been, I
Yes.
think I've noticed that as the juries get bigger, we tend to get more unanimous votes, and it makes sense. There was an article that this guy wrote a while ago. I feel bad. I don't remember who it was. He was on one of the live feed updates a long time ago for Big Brother with Taryn, a really smart guy, and he did a whole almost like dissertation on the changes to modern Big Brother and how they expanded the jury size, and it's resulted in more groupthink and how individual votes mean less. So I think in some level, I've always been a fan of like 16 to 18 player casts. I like having smaller juries. I do kind of prefer the final 2, but I don't mind the final 3 that much. But I do think with 41, it looks like, based on the fact that next time on for episode 4, we're not swapping. So I don't think we're swapping, at least. They didn't hint at it. I feel like they
I don't
would
think
have.
so.
Which means I don't think we're going to get a swap, most likely, which means we're going to either have the merge at 13 or 12, which is totally cool. I'm great with that, with no swap for the first time in a long time. I don't think they've had a no swap season since, I don't even know, Philippines, maybe? It's been a long time.
Yeah, and that was like an absorption. And I definitely could see like a Philippine style, like, if Yasa like lost, like, okay, Tiffany and Xander, and they both went out, and then it's like, all right, one tribe gets Evie, one tribe gets Liana, and that's your that's your swap.
Right. I could see that happening. And honestly, I like the Philippines. I thought that was a very narrative heavy. I loved the concept of having these 2 massive underdogs just by default. Just the game created the underdogs. That was like the season. They didn't force that theme. The theme was like these returning players with their medevacs and their second chance or whatever, but it turned into the Matt Singh show in a way. And I loved it. I thought it was fantastic. So I'm like, if it naturally finds that we don't need the swap, and there's 2 underdogs from, say, the Yasa Yellow tribe or something, and there's no swap that happens, they get absorbed, I'm okay with that. I like having the 3 tribe dynamic, smaller tribes. It does pose some complications, I feel. There's some tricky, and this is something my mom pointed out to me, which, she said, like, the losing the vote aspect makes it complicated because there's such small tribes that losing a vote when you're only one of 4 people seems incredibly harsh. I'm like, yeah, I agree with that. Like, it's a bit complicated when you have these small tribes. I like the concept of having smaller tribes, a slightly smaller cast, maybe even a smaller jury. But I do wonder, with all of the twists and advantages coming into play, if it's jeopardizing what I liked from yesteryear with like the Philippines or with Cagayan, and possibly throwing a wrench into it. We'll see what happens. I don't know. So far, I'm enjoying it, though.
We
I'm
still get there, and I think that what was nice about Philippines was it was like an easy season to follow, where you had the story in the beginning was Matt Singh. We were all focused on sort of like Matt Singh going down the tubes, and you had then Malcolm and Denise, and we were sort of like very invested in them. And one went to one tribe, and one went to the other tribe, and we followed like Denise's story with with Caliber, and then Malcolm's story over with Tandang, and then we went into sort of everything else that was going on in that season. I feel like that with no swap, I do think that it makes it more likely that we could get something like the Philippines, where I feel like that even though we have really not seen too much of what's going on at Luvu, that I like no swap here because I feel like that we have the chance to really understand the story of these tribes, and then as opposed to when we swap so early. I think it becomes very confusing in terms of like who's where. And I think we have a better chance to sort of like lose the stories of people that aren't like the main focus of the show.
Yes, it gets very discombobulated, especially when they do it after like 1 or 2 episodes. It's happened a lot in the last 10 seasons or so. I've never been a big fan of that. I say like one swap is enough. I'm honestly okay sometimes with no swaps. I think mixing it up is great. I like that they have gone to the 3 tribes. They haven't done 3 tribes out of the gate since I think Heroes Hustlers. And so I was like, you know what? I'm okay with this. And the lack of a swap makes it actually more interesting. I actually like it more. I would go this route more often because it focuses more on, I can keep track of the people and the storylines on each tribe. And it's a small tribe, it's a small number. And when they emphasize like the backstories of these people, I have a pretty decent understanding of who most of these people are in this cast. I can't say the same for a lot of previous seasons in the last 5 seasons where pre-merge, episode 3, whoever gets voted out, I don't really remember much about even in the moment. And that's, I think, I prefer to know who these people are. And even if they're going out like Brad going out, I have a great understanding of who Brad was. I enjoyed him quite a lot, for a third boot, for the third episode boot. It's just I'm okay with the makeup of this season thus far.
Okay. So that was a great setup. I'm glad you ended on Brad because I have a Brad question for you. Okay. This is from Jamie. Has a question for you about Brad.
Hi, Rob and Peridiam. I just wanted to ask you this question because I'm a big fan of your YouTube channel and specifically your ranking videos. And so I thought it could be fun in light of Brad's glorious but devastating exit from the show in this episode to rank your top 5 Brad moments.
Okay. Now, Peridiam, were you already working on the top 5 Brad moments of the season?
I won't lie. I thought about doing something related to food and relating players to food, pre-merge players to what's their spirit food or something you want to call it.
Okay.
Like a Kim Spradlin-esque, but no, I haven't done my top 5 Brad moments yet.
All right. Well, that you mentioned Brad with food. Let me ask you, is this going to be number 1?
I was hoping it was the salt water that was making my clothes baggy, but the fact is I'm just turning into a little bit of a twig and with kind of a fuzzy top. I feel like a broccoli. So broccoli grows little bunches on small trees. So I feel like a little broccoli tree, I guess.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I mean, I was saying I usually take notes on every episode, and I usually don't go verbatim, but for that, I had to go verbatim just so I have it.
Because he starts with salt water. Like salt water shrunk my clothes, and then I feel like a twig, and then my hair was like broccoli, and I look like broccoli, and
it was an evolution of a analogy before our eyes. They left nothing. They gave us full Brad. Nothing was left on the cutting room floor.
Yeah, pretty. And then I watched the episode back right before we're recording, and then the thing that stood out to me was that so Brad does that whole thing, and immediately Jeff tries to pivot off of it.
Xander, does that surprise you to have that kind of introspection?
What? Like he said, like the wackiest thing ever. And Jeff is like earnestly like, wow, Xander, is that interesting to hear that kind of introspection? Like, what was the introspection? I look like broccoli?
You see Jeff with these millennials and these other themes he's forced. I wouldn't put it past him to find a way to draw that moment out and be like, let's pivot from there and see if we can get some moment out of it. Xander, what do you have to tell us about?
Yeah. And Xander, then he earnestly tries to do his thing again. I think if Jeff said that to me, I was there like, Jeff, I got to be honest. I'm not really following where Brad's going with this.
If Xander, if he went to anyone else, I would have been interested to see what anyone else had to say at that point, just to see their honest thoughts beyond the butterflies. But
yeah. Well, we know that Xander did like that because he tells Brad later,
I like what you said about broccoli.
I like what you said about broccoli. Has that sentence ever been said before in the English language? I liked what you said there about broccoli.
No, I can certainly say I don't think it's ever been said in Survivor's history, let alone the English language. It's a new sentence.
Okay. Can we
new era.
come up with the 5 greatest Brad moments? Okay, so there's definitely broccoli.
I mean, yes, broccoli moment, probably number 1, most iconic for everything he said. That whole I feel like a little broccoli tree, and then he ends it with the I guess. I live for the last few just the I guess part. Just delivers puts the period at the end of that. Puts the full stop at the end of it. Of course, we have to go to him building the fake Brad.
Fake Brad, yeah.
Dummy Brad on the beach. That was another fantastic moment. Quick, effective. It sounds like it might have worked from his exit interview. I listened to that you had with him a couple days ago.
You know what?
Maybe.
And Brad was so great in the exit interview. But like just talking it through. Okay, so that he told Shan about his advantages, right? Jeannie had to know. Like, there's no chance like Shan didn't also tell Ricard, like, hey, this is what Brad's doing tonight. And then did JD not know? Was it all to just punk JD?
Maybe. I'd like to think so, just to make it a little better. I do think it was a little extra, but that's okay.
Yeah, we loved it. We loved it. Okay.
I'm here for the extra.
So okay, broccoli, fake Brad. What about Brad's Spy Shack?
I loved it. Yeah, I was equating it to Tony. I was like, this is it. The last winners left their imprint on the next season. Here's Tony's Spy Shack in 2 episodes already. Brad's channeling his Wyoming hunter. It's coming out. He's big buck hunting.
Okay.
Hiding
How about
in the Fijian bush?
Peridiam? How about when Brad told Shan and Sarah that he was going to write their names down to their face?
Classic. One of the defining moments of the premiere. We had 120 something minutes, and I think that was a top 3 moment of the premiere episode when he just straight up tells the 2 people that I guess he's targeting, at least from our perspective.
Yep.
Yeah, it's one of you 2 to your face. Who does that? It's crazy. It's like a new strategy we've never seen.
Yeah. And then what do you have rounding out the top 5?
Oh man, I'm trying to think because those are definitely the big 4. Do you have a 5th?
Coming out and saying he wants the vote steal.
That's possible. I do like his overall enthusiasm. He really
he had such great enthusiasm.
Some of his confessionals just pull me in. I feel the energy.
Yeah, let's listen to this man, Peridiam.
Oh, I'm feeling so excited. My heart's just kind of missing beats, and I'm just kind of all wired, even though I haven't eaten much.
Yes. I think he has one where he's like just hypes up the advantage he finds at the beginning of this episode 3, and I don't know exactly what he was saying, but it's like all the twists, all the danger, high risk. Oh, I love it. And I'm just like, it's like he's eating his favorite food, or just took a bite into like he's eating his favorite stalk of broccoli or whatever, and he just loves it. And I'm like, maybe that's it. It's just the overall level of he's there for this show. He's there for it. I will miss Brad quite a lot.
How about his slow motion dive off the boat?
Good. That was good. Yeah.
So maybe we'll make it a top 4 moments for Brad.
I could find a 5th if I spent a little time, but off the top of my head, those are definitely, and those are very that's a strong top 4 for 3 episodes. I mean, that's competing. That might be more than Tony got in Winners at War for 3 episodes, possibly.
Yeah,
Probably
I mean, Tony did. He had the ladder. He caught a shark.
Right.
He had
that's
couple of things. That's a high bar, Tony.
But to be fair, he's pushing up into Tony levels as far as 3 episodes of and engaging random content. Yeah, it's great. It's fantastic.
Okay. John Tinkham sent us in a question. It wants to know, what would your pitch to a movie studio be for Brad Reese's Day Off be? Now, I know you are a student of all things cinema. Do you have an idea for what would happen in the movie Brad Reese's Day Off?
Okay. So it would have to be this this Wyoming rancher. Is this relating it to Survivor? Is the pitch like he's on he's a man living on his own in the like Castaway almost?
I mean, I think it's going to be like what's our Ferris Bueller idea for with Brad as the protagonist in the film.
Oh wow. Okay, so I have to admit I haven't seen Ferris Bueller in a long time.
Okay.
I know the reference, but I have not seen it in a long time.
Does he need to call in sick for the ranch to go beyond Survivor?
Possibly. He builds a fake dummy Brad in the meantime. That is a stand-in on the ranch. He has to teach it, somehow train it to hunt in the bush. Maybe that's a lead up the backstory. We get the flashback of that.
Maybe because then it's sort of like that Brad is such a hardworking rancher, and then when he sort of like sneaks off to go do Survivor, then everybody in his town, they drive by and they're like, hey, I don't see Brad out there. Brad, there must be something wrong. Hope Brad's not sick. They get the GoFundMe going to try to get like we're concerned about Brad. He doesn't miss a day of work.
Yeah.
All of Wyoming is on the lookout now for, raising money for Brad.
But meanwhile, through all this, we got dummy Brad, but is real Brad is he in Fiji? Is that the idea?
I don't know.
Is he off skipping?
He borrowed somebody's car to go drive to casting.
Okay, I could see it. I like it.
He's gonna get in a parade and sing somewhere.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, it writes itself.
I would watch it. I would be curious to see what Brad could do. Just give him the microphone, give him the camera.
Yeah. Brad, how was your day off?
Oh, I'm feeling so excited. My heart's just kind of missing beats, and I'm just kind of all wired, even though I haven't eaten much.
Maybe he pops off to Trader Joe's, picks up a thing of his favorite vegetables, and
from Jeannie
about that.
Yeah,
from
Jeannie's
Jeannie.
Jeannie's working at the store. Like, can I get a price check on broccoli? Like, I like what you said about broccoli.
He likes to put a little bit of salt on top.
That's Xander. He's behind him in the line in the store.
And Xander's mumbling something about butterflies, and and then they all get in the car at the end of it. He picks them up, and they go cruising through town. I would watch it.
Yeah, it'd be great. Okay.
Curious.
What'd you think about JD? Have you have any thoughts about JD this season, Peridiam?
I've seen some people be mixed on him. I love JD. I'm a big fan of JD. People find him a little bit. I've seen some people find him a little bit like too much. I think my sister was like, "Oh, he's so sloppy," and I'm like, "Yeah, I love that. Like, it's real, and it feels like he's so exuberant. Like, I could only wish to be that sloppy at times. Like, I walk around with my advantage sticking out, and then I get called out for it, and I love his youthful just enjoyment of being a Survivor fan on Survivor.
Can I say something with we heard this week about how JD, one of his heroes is Woo, which I think is so great because I feel like that, in the super fan community, I don't think we've recognized the greatness of Woo that we talk about. Like,
I'm a huge Woo fan.
What a fool. He took Tony to the end. I've said personally, he's made the biggest mistake in the history of the game where I feel like you open one door, you win the game. You open the other door, you lose the game. He went from a clear win to losing the game to Tony. But it's so nice to hear about JD's love for Woo, who is just one of the nicest guys you ever want to meet in Woo. But I was wondering that in Survivor Cagayan, that Woo's one of his famous moments, and you hear JD talk about it when he's doing his impressions, is when Woo chases down Spencer, where Spencer is out looking for the clue for the idol. And what does Woo do? That he picks up Spencer's pants, and then out of the pants falls the paper. And then Woo, that's what he picks up to go Sonic the Hedgehog, and go run and go off then and do the very impression that JD is doing in this episode of Survivor that he that he should have learned from Survivor Kagyan. Be very careful with the paper sticking out of your pants.
It's like poetry in motion. There's a connective tissue here. I'm a big Wu fan, and I know JD said in the preseason he liked Wu. He said he liked Fabio, which was I don't see Fabio mentioned very often. I'm a big fan of Fabio too. Yeah, I was instantly drawn to JD from the preseason. I had him at number 3 in my preseason picks, as far as ranking the whole cast. And so he's giving me all that I could ask for as far as his journey on the show. And seeing like the whole advantage thing, you compare it to Wu with the idol and the note from Spencer. And now it's the whole role is reversed. Like that's fantastic. Like it's poetry. It's like that's a montage I will put together where it's if I have to compare JD to Wu or whatever, I love it. And then we get the reference with the Sonic the Hedgehog style zipping through the jungle. And it's like, you know, technically in this case, JD's the Spencer of the situation, but
yeah.
Can
I play JD's impressions for you?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, here's JD's impressions.
Don't say that I gave that to him. Do you think I'm stupid?
That's freaking Reem. I do Wu like all the time. I think.
Okay. Well, first of all, what do you think of the Reem impression?
It didn't remind me of Reem a ton, but I still appreciated him saying
we like the effort. Like the effort.
I appreciate the
Screw you, dude.
Yeah.
That's freaking Reem. It's all
Are
right.
you?
Yeah. Then we get Wu. I think he does better with Wu than he does with Reem.
So funny.
I bust out my arsenal, which is my ninja stealth mode. I'm cruising to the path, Sonic the Hedgehog style. There's no way he's catching me.
So I'll give him I
like that more.
a better grade, at least a B on the Wu.
I mean, I've heard you do the Reem impressions for so long that I'm like, it's that's the Reem impression for me. But hearing the Wu busted out, and I've always loved that confessional from Wu and Kagyan.
Yeah,
I thought it was one of my favorite. I grew up playing Sega. Sega Genesis was my thing. So seeing Sonic the Hedgehog get into Survivor was nice, and seeing it getting a callback was nice. So.
Yeah. Well, JD says he quotes Wu all the time. That what are the iconic Wu? I mean, there's the Sonic the Hedgehog, and then there's when he in the auction when he gets the ribs, he's like barbecue sauce, tangy, melted. Like I forget exactly what he says, but I feel like
he says with Jeffra, she gets the guac, I think, and he's like, "Oh, let me get a fat dip of that guac."
Fat dip of that guac. Yeah.
I know he's got the scene in the rain where he's all excited in the first few episodes. This is what Survivor's all about, baby. He's like jumping up and down. Yeah. Woo. I for me, it's like his blindside face. I think it's one of the greatest blindside faces. Mm-hmm. It's not exactly the greatest impression you want to have on Survivor, but it's a good one. It's a memorable one. His shocked face. A lot of that.
I know who you are. You're Cliff Robinson.
Yeah, he had that confessional. I would love to pull it up where he's like just shooting hoops with my role model growing up. Something like that.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of the surfer bro archetype. I find them endlessly, oftentimes entertaining with Fabio, with Wu.
I mean,
JD sort of cut from that.
For years with Angie Kant, who did a lot of great work with, establishing like the different character archetypes for Survivor. That was the one that always like if there was the surfer guy, and it's really like sort of flipped on Big Brother, but on Survivor, like that's the guy who you always could pencil in is going to do well because they have sort of like that athletic build, but also like sort of like the unassuming personality where that's like very likable that people are not ever going to be worried about. Oh, this is a strategist that we have to worry about.
Yeah, I always say like one of the greatest things I think for me as an armchair analyst, one of the greatest things I would imagine is to be underestimated in the game. To have the ability to be better than everyone thinks you are, and then to do that, and then to do it successfully, and also be able to explain that. That's the one caveat with some of the surfer bros is I don't know how much Wu could explain any of the intentions that he had getting into that final two. So that's the hiccup, or even Fabio to some extent. He got lucky a little in how everything shook out. So I worry for JD. I think he's got more brains, in my opinion, from what I've seen, even though he's messed up with the whole idol clue thing and burned some trust here. And maybe I'm overestimating him, but I would like to see like JD go far. I think he's one of the players that I will be very sad when he goes, even though I know some people are frustrated by his sloppy gameplay. He's one of the players who I'm hoping goes the distance for sure.
Let me get into some strategy talk with you. This is a question from Webb. It says, hey, Robin Peridiam. Hope I'm sneaking this in under the wire. 2 weeks in a row, we've watched two of the season's most featured players, Evie and Shan, aim for allies who thoroughly trusted them at Tribal. Both Xander and Brad had extra advantages, yes, but as Steven discussed recently, isn't it better to keep those guys around since they're telling you everything? Why spare looser cannons like Tiffany and JD, who will probably prove to be really difficult to work with / corral for the rest of the game? Shan and Evie both seem very smart about the game, so clearly there's something else going on. What am I not understanding about their strategy? You know, I haven't really compared the two scenarios from the last 2 weeks, but I think that there's some interesting parallels where you had, you know, Shan and Evie. They're both painted on the show as sort of like the decision maker in terms of how that's going to go. They both have like one person that they're considering who is sort of like loaded up. They've got like a bunch of advantages. There's also sort of
loaded with candy.
And then we also have the person who's sort of like the squeaky wheel. JD in the case of the Ua tribe, and then Tiffany in the case of the Yasa tribe, and then the trusted ally, where Ricard is sort of the person that's the number one of the decision maker, Ricard for Shan, and then Liana for Evie, and then sort of like the innocent bystander who I think that Voce was like getting voted out last week would have been like if Jeannie was the person who got voted out this week.
I agree. Yeah, I made a tweet about that after the episode. I was thinking about it more. And I said like Ua had Brad outnumbered dead to rights, and then they flushed his extra vote, his idol, one fell swoop. Whereas last week we saw the opposite, where Yase had Xander dead to rights, outnumbered, and then they didn't do that. They didn't pull that trigger. And we actually saw Liana talk about that at the beginning of the episode, how she regretted that.
Yeah.
And so I've seen a lot of game discussion in the past week about, was that the right call for Yase to make? And then is this the right call for Ua to be making? Because this is what I think a lot of people really are hoping, that they would have voted out Xander, not Voce last week because of all this. And now they did it this week with Brad. But now people are like, well, actually, I don't know. Like there's a...
Wait, hold on. You were saying that that people are being hypocritical on the internet?
Look, there's a lot of people out there, fans of Survivor, and some people got one opinion, some got the other.
Yeah.
But yes, there's a time where all of a sudden it does start to all coagulate into a giant question mark of who knows. It is what it is.
What do you think? Which tribe do you think handled that situation better?
I'm gonna say Ua, but yeah, with Shan and Ricard. Although to be fair, I don't know for sure, because Yase, it seems like from what I've seen in episode 3, I don't know where Xander's head is at the moment, but it seems like he's not that burned. I actually think he seemed to be in on the Voce thing going a little bit based on the reactions a little. I also do wonder if Jeannie is now, she seemed very blindsided a little bit by the vote of Brad. So that might potentially be a problem with a number going forward for the rest of the Green tribe.
Yeah, this is so interesting
or something.
Comparing those two tribes, because I said this last week in one of the podcasts where I feel like that the Yasa tribe really did catch a break. And I don't know if this was like intentional, if anybody was thinking this way, of because Xander lost his vote, he did not have to write down somebody's name. So maybe Evie said like, hey, it's gonna be Voce. Sorry, there's nothing we can do tonight. So maybe he wasn't blindsided, but he didn't have to, he didn't have to make that decision of like, oh, Voce is, is my friend. Like it sucks to write his name down. All right, let me just write down Tiffany's name. Where then they go back to camp and Tiffany's like, what's going on, Xander? You wrote my name down? What's up with that? Where Jeannie, who, she's already written Ricard's name down once. And then did she vote for, she voted for JD this time. So now Jeannie, so they're both tribes are 4 people, but I feel like that the Yasa 4 is much more of a tight unit than the Uwa is like a 3+1.
Yeah, I was just thinking that. It made me reconsider when I said initially Uwa was like, actually, I do think Xander's in a better, socially, they seem a little bit tighter, the 4 of them. Maybe Tiffany is a little bit questionable at times with she's her own rogue squeaky wheel. But ultimately, it does seem like, at the very least, Xander is with them, and they could easily vote out Tiffany potentially and keep Xander, knowing there's nothing he could do if they went to tribal again with 3 people.
Right.
And he's also seems to be very close to the shot caller, who's Evie. It seems like those are the closer people. Whereas you have somebody like Jeannie, I don't think she's that close to Shan at the moment, who's calling that shot. So yeah, maybe this was actually better for Yase, which is interesting because the discourse that I've been living through for the last week and a half has been opposite of that, where I think more people are forgiving of Shan and the Ua Green call to take out Brad, even though they miss Brad. Or it's sad that he had to go. Whereas a lot of people were like, Tiffany should have been the one to go. That was the worst call to make. Voce should still be in the game.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't know. Like, I think it's a little more complicated than that.
Yeah, I just think it's really interesting. It's sort of like this like new paradigm of this week's episode sort of like gave some clarity to what happened last week. Because now if Ua goes to a tribal council this week, you got to think Jeannie is going to play the shot in the dark die where if like let's say Xander even could vote, like you don't think like automatically, like I think that Evie and Liana could like potentially dupe both Xander and Tiffany and make them both feel safe, where neither of them ends up playing the shot in the dark die. So I think that that's also another thing for like advantage for where Yasa is at.
Although maybe we're underestimating Shan's capabilities. She seems to be pretty dang good from what I've heard with these people in the relationships. I don't know how Jeannie feels a ton. We don't seem to know. I know she caught the clam. I don't know what that means for her relationship with Shan.
Yeah.
Now that she's been blindsided, maybe she'll go and hoard the clams for herself and leave Shan clamless. But I do think it's possible they could bring Jeannie back into the fold a little bit more. Maybe convince her, I've got this extra vote from JD. He doesn't have it anymore. I don't know for sure if we know, but she could maybe hold on. Is she allowed to keep that? Is that hers technically now, or is that JD's? Still?
I don't know if she'll give it back to him or not.
Does
like
she
I
have to? Like, is it like a Sarah and Cerise
I get the
situation?
sense that she intends to give it back to him.
Okay.
Like I feel like that he did not like will it to her. He like said like you can hold it. Like I feel like that there's like a little bit of like a
you
distinction.
can have it. You can't,
yes.
I'm not giving this to you. This is yours now. It's like you can hold it temporarily while I'm out of town. Okay.
Yeah. So we'll see. Now, if he's still in the game and says like I want it back, and she had like I would think but it's different if like if JD is out of the game, if he got voted out and he was holding, I think that she would be able to use it. But it's one of these things where we really do need that kind of like if you were out there, you would like hey, can I talk to one of the producers? And they would say like we'll get back to you on that.
Yeah. And you definitely think that if, say, next week Shan should give that back if he wants it back. Do you think that's the right call to make?
I think she should hold on to it for as long as she can until it becomes a thing. Like
until it becomes a problem.
Yeah, I think so, because that I mean he no, he doesn't have the advantage. So yeah, she should hold on to it.
Okay.
Yeah,
that I wonder if that idol will be re-hidden now that Brad's out. I feel like it probably would, right?
Yeah.
Otherwise, Xander's really.
Well, I don't know. You think they're going to rehide the Beware advantage?
I think they would need to, just because I mean, maybe I'm giving him too much credit, but I feel like if the Blue Tribe found it, they're screwed because there's no third idol to activate, and they seems to has to happen at the exact same time.
Yeah.
You know, they all got to put their hands in at the same time for to summon Captain Planet. They can't do it individually, so
Yeah.
it looks like they have to. Otherwise, Xander's really in deep doo-doo, and then whoever finds it on the Blue Tribe is also not getting in it. And I'm like, do they not? They definitely would like idol still. I think I'm appreciating the fact that we don't have to. I mean, we got different scenes finding other stuff, but I'm also like, it's interesting not having an idol play now for 4 straight tribal councils. That's a new.
Yeah,
era.
we went all in on the extra votes so far this season, as
And
opposed
also,
to
none of the
idols.
advantages have actually been played. That's another fascinating thing. No shots in the dark, no extra votes, no vote steals, no idols. For all of the talk of the advantages and the search for the parchments and the papers falling out of people's pants, there's nothing. It's just a straight 3-1, 3-2, 4-1, 5-1 votes. It feels like it could have happened regardless of the fact that like Xander could have voted or Brad could have voted, you know? So
that's why I feel like that they don't want you to even worry about that stuff. It's like it doesn't really matter so much. I mean, I guess at some point it might matter, but you know, I feel like that, you know, don't get too caught in the weeds in terms of like at least from Survivor's perspective of like on this stuff. Just focus on like these people in the show and you know why they're here. But I wanted to speaking of character stuff, I wanted to ask you about Liana, and I felt like that I haven't seen this talked about too much. And the episode begins with Liana, and I caught this when I was rewatching the episode this morning. So the episode begins on Liana, and Liana is having regret about we didn't vote out Xander last time, and then also she says that I feel like I just made $1 million mistake. The name of the episode also. $1 million mistake. Like if that feels like a very like benign quote that was in the episode. Interesting that you know that's what they chose to be the title of the episode. Usually, I feel like that the Survivor episode titles are something like with a little bit more like of a significance and not something that's like super generic, like you know the $1 million mistake. Do you think that is there any significance to the both the episode starting with Liana and then having the title of like I don't want to get into like Edgic, but I do feel like that in terms of like Liana's story, it's almost like that her story is a little bit of like that she's really having a lot of regret, and it seems like that you know it's significant for us to you know get that story, and then on top of that also she's talking about her mistake. And then kind of like Michaela in Survivor Game Changers, when she misses the legacy advantage because she's upset about not getting picked in the challenge, we also get it highlighted of like, oh, Liana missed the Beware. Not that the Beware advantage was that great. But, you know, she had she missed an advantage that was right under her nose.
Yeah. Liana had this mea culpa of recognizing her biggest flaw, and then it tapped into the actual scene of her missing another, potentially slipping right through her fingers once again. Maybe that's going to be a recurring theme for Liana if that becomes a bit of her storyline going forward. I was interested. I'm always interested to get a reaction of the previous episode and the vote out and like how the players digest it once they get back to camp. We don't always get that with some of the tribes, but seeing Liana have that moment talking about, I did like how she ended it at the beginning talking, although I don't know for sure, because it started, we got 2 moments. We had the night and then the next day. And the first thing in the night she says is, she relates it to, I think she talks about her dad and what her dad told her. And she said that change is the only thing that's constant in this world. And I wonder if that was sort of a bit of a theme or whatever you want to say, a motif for this season where things are changing. That's the only constant is the fact that nothing's
no joke.
constant.
It's a new era.
Right. As Brad would tell us, with the whitest teeth ever. That's crazy. He must eat no sugar or something. It's I aspire to have that bright teeth.
Eat broccoli.
I would, broccoli's not too bad. My wife randomly told me yesterday her least favorite vegetable was green beans. I just thought about that now that we're thinking about broccoli so much. Broccoli's gotten up in my anyway.
Does she think they look like anything in particular?
I don't I don't think so.
Look like Kermit the Frog's fingers when you think about it.
I haven't thought about that.
Mm-hmm.
That might disturb me a little.
Mm-hmm.
But Liana did say, change is the only thing that's constant, and there's always an opportunity to flip the narrative. And I thought, interesting. I wonder if that might happen. Maybe the narrative will get flipped. Maybe it means for her, maybe for the yellow Yase tribe, or maybe it just means she's going to miss the Beware advantage, which, by the way, I saw that pop up at the tribe at the beginning of the episode. I thought, and my sister validated that, we thought that was just Xander's sitting by the fire. I didn't realize that there was a whole nother advantage. So when that was showing, there was like, oh, look, they're showing Xander's Beware advantage. All of a sudden, it's a totally new one. That really caught me off guard. I didn't realize they would be so just thrown in front of everyone. I saw Chrissy tweeted about how now you see the whole dig here right at the beach for Ben's idol in the finale of HHH. She's like, yeah, they just put it right in front of you, kind of like it's just right in front of you. Like it suddenly starts to, I don't know. It made me laugh seeing Chrissy talk about that. But
yeah, what was it? Was she was making a joke, or
I think she was making a joke, pointing out like, they'll put advantages right in front of your face sometimes. It doesn't have to be hidden in a tree, or you need like to build a giant ladder, like tide it and go wrong or something, and like scrape your knees to get to it. Sometimes it's just right in front of your face, and you just need to dig there, or in that case, it's right by the fire pit. Slips right through her fingers.
Yeah.
I'm interested to see what this means for Liana. I've been sitting down for my next video coming up, trying to look into who I think is really going to win this season. And I do have a large incorporation of the editing, and I don't really talk about it very often. I've actually avoided talking about it on my channel in 4 years, even though it's one of the initial ideas I had for a video. And I'm not going to get into the weeds of it. I did actually have a stream a couple weeks ago where I had a whole 15-point power presentation to my audience, explaining how I understand the editing and looking for it in that regard. And
when you say how you understand the editing, you're talking about for like how they do a winner's edit?
How they, not even the winner's edit, just understanding scene by scene what it means for every player in the moment, and what they choose to show to us, what they say, how it's intended to give off an impression to the audience, and like ultimately when we look at the big picture, how does it look for, in comparing it to the history of the show, previous seasons, what have we seen, what is the pattern to look for, and then I give my thoughts, and I say like, here's the person I think is currently looking to be edited the best, and what that might mean. I'm not always right. A lot of the times I've been Adam Klein I did not see coming from a mile away, and I would honestly say on some level, I started my YouTube channel. I used to have an editing blog where I talked about the editing, and I love to dive into it. And I had a blog about it, and I created my own website even with like panels and stuff, and I ran it for a couple of seasons. And then when Adam's win showed up and I just was so off the mark on it, I thought David was going to win or Ken.
Yeah.
I just sort of shut the whole thing down because I just said like, this is too much time and I'm clearly going in the wrong direction. I'm not getting enough hits. And partially because of Adam Klein winning and me being so blindsided by it, it led to me eventually starting my YouTube channel. I went in a different direction because of it. So
wow.
As far, that's a little like origin story.
Yeah. Well, first off, that I would say that wasn't that an amazing outcome that happened that way, because that I feel like that the whole fun of something like this is that you could have so much information like and be wrong, and I feel like that like there's almost like what sort of like fun is it like that like we're following this, I'm telling you it's gonna be this, it's gonna be this, and then you're right, and it's like okay, yeah, you were right, okay, good job. But to me, I feel like that it's I love being wrong on the on like listen, it doesn't feel great in real life. But
I kind of hope to be wrong, to be honest. A lot of the time.
Yeah, because I feel like it makes it makes the whole thing so much more fun. And then, especially then to have that be the origin story for like the, amazing work you've done since then. And, I have to give Adam Klein a little bit of the credit too, of like, everything that he's brought to the Survivor world. So that's a great story.
It was for me, like I became, the first season I got into hardcore was Heroes Villains as it was airing live. As you know, I was watching your podcast, listening to your podcast from the very beginning. And I was very much rooting for Parvati, and I was told by people who followed the edit, you're wasting your time.
Yeah.
And I was very confused as a newbie who didn't understand the show. And then I got into it and I figured out the finale. Okay, Parvati isn't winning, but I still thought she only needs 2 more votes from the jury. She's
Yeah.
this close, and it just didn't come up. It was Sandra, and I thought, okay, interesting. And that really gripped me. This idea of like pulling the wool over your eyes and seeing the show from a different paradigm, like a paradigm shift or a Peridiam shift, as I jokingly thought, brainstorming ideas for a segment of my stream to talk about the editing and what I like about it as somebody who sits around and edits Survivor content, cuts up the edited content from my own edited 15-minute versions of these abbreviated episodes every week on my YouTube channel. And yeah, getting it wrong with Adam like changed the trajectory of how I decided to create content about the show. And then for Survivor 41 now, like I do sort of look into it partially. I look into like the game and I read the background. I listen to your exit interviews. I read the exit press from other journalists to see what's really happening and how do I feel about these players. But I'm ultimately like, for my next video, I'm trying to figure out who do I think is going to win this season. And like looking at Liana, for example, in this opening intro, it makes me questionable. I do like her. I think she's doing a great job. And then I sort of worry though, because I'm like, okay, is this initial scene showing us like, is this $1 million mistake? If she wins this season, if she doesn't win this season, is this like that $1 million mistake that maybe this isn't $1 million mistake? Because like, what did she really lose? She didn't get to go on a nighttime boat trip with Broccoli Brad. You know, was that the
she could have an extra vote? Yeah,
she could have got to steal a vote, I guess, and like that maybe would have been the $1 million mistake. But you know, I'm like, you know, I don't think she missed out too much at the end of the day. So
yeah.
I don't
And
know.
just to go back to your miss on Adam Klein winning season 33, don't forget that, you know, the season that came right before that was Korong. And that was the season that, you know, really, I think the editors got dragged of that. It was like, oh, Michelle was going to win. Like that was just everywhere. Michelle was going to win, winner edit Michelle. And maybe because of that, you know, you were sort of like relying on like old information of the way that they were editing the show. And that was pointing you in a direction. So it wasn't necessarily that you were doing anything wrong, but they just changed up the exercise and you had not seen that in practice yet.
I say, like, you know, the edit is a science at the end of the day, and I try to remove my bias as best as I can. Also from watching the show in general, just even casually when I first turn it on at 8 p.m., I try to watch it without being super critical if I can. Just enjoy the ride, as you said. Get in the boat, enjoy the ride, and see how I feel at the end of it. And then I'll dive into the weeds after in my own time. But yeah, you know, I for like Korong, I did see Michelle winning for most of the season. I didn't think Aubrey stood a chance at all. So when she won, I was not surprised, but I was also like, you know, interested to see the reaction because there was a huge contingent of, and I remember watching you wanting to avoid that because it was a bit of a dicey situation. Edgic was
I mean, I don't like to talk about it because I feel like Edgic is like, it kind of ruins the show. But I do think that the only good that I feel like comes out of it is that then, you know, if like that word gets out to like, and I don't know how many production people listen to the podcast.
I don't think they care. I saw Mike Bloom did an interview with the editors a couple of years ago, and they talked about the winner's edit and the editing, and I've saved that article for a while because it explained how the editing team works behind the scenes. And they said they kind of laugh it off, like they don't put any time or effort into understanding it. Or I'm like, I guess we're trying to understand their behavior, like we're watching them, like it's like they're in a cage and we're trying to observe them from like as scientists. But ultimately it's really not like that. I think they don't care. They're just trying to put together a fun TV show that we can enjoy and look back on and you know, have a good time.
Yeah. If you talk to an editor, I think they would say there's no such thing as winner edit. Like
they would say that. They have said it. Yeah, I have a quote. Like they actually straight up say like there's no such thing as that. We don't take that into consideration at all. Like they're just trying to put together the best show they can. And maybe there's a science to what they do. So maybe that's what we're looking for.
Okay.
But yeah, getting it wrong there changed the trajectory of it. And I will say again, like it's for me, I like to be right for posterity's sake to go back to and say, hey, by the way, you can take me what I have to say because I'm this thought leader or whatever, and I know what I'm talking about because I have a resume that has all these, like, I got all these ones right. But ultimately, like, it's remembering that I got it so wrong for so many times, being blindsided. I legitimately thought Wu was going to beat Tony in Cagayan. And I walked into that final tribal and Tony didn't have the best final tribal. And I still, even rewatching it, and I made a video about this not too long ago, I still think Tony had one of the worst final tribals in Kagiyan personally. He wasn't great, very defensive. And I walked into that finale and I thought, into that reunion thinking, Wu is going to beat Tony. I cannot believe it. And I was so blindsided. And I'm like, this Survivor expert who didn't even see that. And I still hear about it to this day from the comment section. But that to me is really what I'm like. That's me and Wu saying like, this is what Survivor's all about. Like being wrong is honestly more enjoyable than being right most of the time. Because I live like that blind side of not seeing it coming, despite thinking you know everything, despite feeling like you've spent all this time diving into it. That to me is worth its weight in whatever comments I'm gonna get on YouTube for being wrong about my predictions or whatever. Which, by the way, I'm like possibly predicting Liana might win this season. She might be in my top 4.
Yeah.
Coming out this Wednesday. That's my next video. So
Yeah.
yeah.
I think you have to love being wrong to do this kind of stuff.
Have to.
Yeah.
I'd honestly prefer it. I'd rather be more blindsided than get it right. If I had to pick one or the other, I'd rather be wrong, more wrong than right, to enjoy the show. It's nice to be right, but I ask my wife at the end of every episode, I say like, who do you think's going home? If I gave you some money, like I say, if I gave you $5, who would you put it on? What's your gut? And she's really bad at making a pick. She's horrible at it. But like she did say, I think Brad's going, and I thought JD was going to go. I said, I think JD's going. And I'm like watching it, experiencing the episode, and I'm like, JD's really sloppy. Like if I was Shan, I'd probably vote out JD here and keep his extra vote in my pocket and know you got Brad. He views you as your number 1. He's got this idol that is currently hampering his game, and he's got this steal a vote, and like he's your number 1, and you're clearly not going next either way. So maybe Genie goes, maybe Ricard goes, but he's a shield. He's a boisterous character. Like maybe it's actually better to keep him around.
Yeah.
But I was dead wrong, and she didn't do that, and I was living for it because I love JD. So
yeah, I love JD too. I was very sad to see either of them go. Last week, I feel like I was really crossed up. I didn't think Voce was going to go. I thought Tiffany was going to be the person to go out. So I was very surprised when it came up Voce.
I think I'm in the same boat. I'm trying to remember. I think I thought Tiffany might have gone too. Voce was barely talked about as a boot. It really was like Xander. And then at the last second, Tiffany is like, Voce. And then they're like, maybe we do Tiffany. I was like, oh, that might be it. That might be where this story's been going all episode. But no.
Here, I want to get back to some of the voicemails. I got a good one from Kevin that I want to play for you. Okay. Here is Kevin with a question about something that Kevin has noticed at Tribal Council this season.
Hey, Rob. It's Kevin from Los Angeles. I just realized that right before Jeff reads the votes, he says, if you have an idol or an advantage and you wish to play it, now would be the time to do so. What possible advantage besides an idol can you play after the votes, but before they're read? Love to hear what you think.
Yeah, forget the come on in, guys. I think that this is the Jeff expression that we should examine the real change here, too. I noticed that myself, and I wish I would have pulled the clip. But now's the time to play it. Idol or advantage. Does that speak to that there could be an advantage we see in this season that gets played in this spot?
Yeah, I think there has to be then. Well, he didn't do that for Winners at War, did he?
No,
I don't
seems
think
new.
So.
And we haven't, I don't think have ever seen anything that, I mean, maybe it could be sort of like the, this is
Idol Nullifier, maybe?
I think you'd play the Idol
I mean, after they...
you put it in the urn, the Idol Nullifier.
Right.
Like I was thinking about like the Jeremy safety without power, but that was like, that would be awkward where, maybe they might change up where you play that, but Jeremy played that before the votes because what if the votes come up all Jeremy's like, well, all right, really, we get to Ferris Bueller's Day Off where it's like, Bueller, like he's not here. So all right, I guess we have to vote somebody else out because you voted for somebody who's not at Tribal Council.
Yeah, now that I'm thinking about it, I didn't put too much stock into it just because I know the extra vote you don't play it at that point. You don't play the steal a vote at that point. There hasn't really, you don't play idols, obviously. He says idols. So yeah, it's like what advantage? There certainly hasn't been an advantage thus far. that anyone would be able to play at that point. But he's
It's
still
not the
saying
shot in the dark. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not the shot in the dark at all. So what is causing him to want to say something like that? I don't know. I'm like looking it up now. Like, what advantages have they ever played at that point?
I have not tracked to see if Jeff has said that at every tribal council so far this season. So perhaps I mean, it's weird.
I think he has. Yeah.
Yeah.
All four.
So yeah, so it's not just like, oh, a slip of the tongue of just something new that he's like throwing out there. Like, it seems like that there has to be some intention behind him adding that now is also the time to play advantages.
Is it like the 50-50 coin maybe? That was one that played at that point with Michelle last season. She played that right before they revealed the votes, I think.
I guess so. Yeah.
I would say that's technically an idol, but it's just called a coin instead.
Mhm.
It's like the Big Brother 23's coin of destiny is basically
Destiny,
a coup
yes.
d'etat. Yeah, just a coup d'etat, just rebranded. So yeah, I don't know. I'm guessing he's just saying it because he knows it's going to become a thing in the future. That's an interesting little tidbit that I actually wasn't even thinking too hard on.
Mm-hmm.
But it does make me think like something's going to come up to where it's going to be played. It won't be an extra vote. It won't be a steal a vote, and it won't be an idol. It'll be something else.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah,
maybe it's something we've never seen before.
So do you think that all the advantages this season will also be beware advantages? Do you think that that is going to be basically something that is going to be baked into the whole season?
I mean, for 3 episodes, we've seen it like that. I guess going back to Liana's quote of change is the only thing that's constant. Maybe not. Maybe we'll see some other type come up, but I wouldn't be surprised if we get beware advantages, if it's just like the thing that happens where Jeff is trying to say something along the lines of everything comes at a cost. It's not as simple anymore as just getting something good or getting something bad. It's actually a little bit of both. And like I remember when he released Ghost Island, the twist, and explained that. I had a whole video basically trying to figure out how that's going to work, because it wasn't very often in Survivor they have like pro and con of a straight up like idol. You get an idol, it's a great thing. There's no downside other than like the social ramifications. Yeah, and that's a huge part of it. That's a huge part of Survivor. But as far as getting an actual advantage, there's usually no disadvantage to it. And now it's like everything is almost baked in. You get the idol, but not really. So I think I could see the beware advantage sticking maybe throughout the entire season. I have made calls and been wrong. I thought they would never redo Edge of Extinction after season 38. I remember saying that last time I spoke to you. I said one of my takes, I don't think they're going to bring it back. And they
brought it. Well, nobody thought they were going to bring it back.
I couldn't believe it after watching Chris, and I'm like, the reaction to Devin's losing, I was like, no way they're going to bring that back. But they did, and I guess it worked out for the most part. What do you think? Do you think they're going to keep the beware advantage around, or is it going to evolve or change?
I wonder if Jeff had said in the preseason that, hey, if you want something this season, you're going to have to risk something. You might have to give up your vote. I do think that the advantages, at least the ones found at the camp, I think may all be beware advantage.
Yep, I would agree with you.
That's the new thing.
I could see it sticking around. Jeff is really leaning into this gamification of, it's not just you get it and now you're great and everything's honky dory. It's you're gonna have to think about it. And I think that's sort of like a lesson for the future of the show, in that like Jeff's direction isn't like, it's no longer you can just win idols all the way to the end. Now they're a lot more complicated. You have to start improvising and saying crazy things, or you have to do what they did in Winners at War, where you have to give your idol to another person. Ben can't win if those are the idols we see all the time.
Well, look at what happened to Tony. Tony got the extortion advantage in Winners at War, where there was like nothing good that came of that, and Tony had to like, oh my god, now I got extortion, and he had to like run around and and I think that was probably the best episode of that whole season. So I think that Survivor, like that's the kind of thing where we go back to that conversation that Mike White had with Jeff Probst, like is it fun? It's like, yes, okay, we need more of this stuff.
Yeah, I was thinking that too. I was explaining the logic because my family were like, it's a little much, and I was like, well, apparently Mike White showed up and was like, just asked a simple question: is it fun? Are you guys having fun? Are you having fun? Are you, as the casual viewer base here who aren't going beyond the show, you're just tuning in at 8 p.m. Are you having fun? And they're like, yeah, for the most part, we're having a good time. So I'm like, okay, well, that's the point. Like, did you guys have fun watching them count their fire tokens? And they were like, honestly, not really. Not a ton. Like, it's a little too, it's not flashy, I guess. Whereas the Beware Advantage taps into that TV moment a little more for the show, you know? So yeah, is it fun?
Yeah.
I'd say for the most part, it's not too bad. I do think it's kind of feels like they're sort of got like, they only have 42 minutes. And I think I said that this is what I touched on at the top of the podcast, was that my one issue is with the Identity Crisis is that they kind of have 42 minutes to work with, and they have a jam packed with a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
And it's fun, but I almost wish that it was longer. I don't know. And again, my family were saying last night how they're like, The Bachelor gets like 2-hour episodes or something, or some show, Bachelor in Paradise, is like 2 hours twice a week.
I mean, all the Bachelor shows I think are
and they're like,
2 hours.
why don't they do that for Survivor, for a show that can pull in the ratings and has been going strong for so long? They clearly can do 2-hour episodes. They've done them, but they should do them more often. Maybe not more than once a week, but bring it. We've got a lot of content. We certainly are clamoring for more. I don't think 2 hours is a ton, and other shows clearly are able to do it. I don't know how The Bachelor does with its ratings, but or the other, like Big Brother does 3 hours a week. Why and Survivor pulls in way better ratings. So I'm just like, I don't know. I wish that I like the gamification and the twists. I do generally find it fun, but I do wish that there was a little more room in the box to put even more. Like, I want to see Heather's dream in the episode. I like that I can still see it. I would like to see more of that. Because I don't know anything about Heather, and maybe that's not going to become relevant.
Yeah, Heather and
Maybe
Erica
that's
really
part
have
of it.
gotten nothing so far through.
I had Heather as my number 2 going in. I was so looking forward. She seemed like such a fun, neat lady. Based on the preseason.
Look, and maybe we're going to see them down the road.
I think we will. I actually think my gut is Luvu is going next week to Tribal Council.
Think about Dean in season 39, where people I always see the people like they can't wait to jump in with like purple. It was Dean is purple. He has no edit, and then he ends up in the final 3.
And he actually had a pretty memorable edit. I still remember his like Goat Army.
Confessional.
That was great. So he's still first few episodes. It's not so much.
Mama, look at me now.
It's not how you start. It's how you finish. We still got a long way to go. I don't think they're in danger. I don't expect either of Heather or Erica to go, and I look forward, based on the secret scene, I look forward to what Heather has to give us.
Yeah.
I do wish it was in the episode, or we had more time to explore it, but it is what it is. I don't want to ask for too much, I guess.
Peridiam, we were talking about Jeff's change up to the now's the time to play the idols or advantages, but I think we got a little bit of one of Jeff's new catchphrases here this season. Did you follow the saga with Survivor Guy?
No.
Okay. Oh, well, you are in for a treat. Okay. Jeff did an interview with Dalton Ross. We talked about it on the podcast. Mike and Leon talked about it on. You know what I'm talking about? Survivor Guy.
I did see this. Yes.
Talked about Survivor Guy and how Survivor Guy gave him the inspiration to say all these different things. And Survivor Guy has given Jeff Probst a new phrase to try out this season, and we heard the first time it was ever uttered on Survivor this week. Here we go. Let's go back to Jeff taking the flint from the Uwat tribe.
All right, Uwat, tribal council tonight. Somebody will be voted out. Before you go, I need your flint. I know it's not easy to give up. It's a penalty for losing. Sorry for you.
Sorry for you.
I'm sorry for you.
Yeah.
Sorry for you.
Sorry for you.
The Survivor Guy coming out.
Survivor Guy gave Jeff a new catchphrase to try this season. Sorry for you.
I'm sorry for you. Okay.
Not I'm sorry for you. No, I'm.
Sorry for you.
Sorry for you.
Yeah, I could see it. I did hear that. I remember I was rewatching that. And I thought, oh, that sounds different. I don't really see Jeff saying sorry very often.
Sorry for you.
I guess is he sorry, or like it's not like an apology? Like, sorry for you.
No, it doesn't sound like he's
this is a very sorry situation for you. Not
right, like
sucks for me.
Sucks for you.
Yeah, it sucks for you. Yeah,
sucks for you.
Although
Sucks
I guess
for you.
you're trying to make it a family-friendly show.
Right. Sorry for you. he's you know, it's an unfortunate event. You lose your flint, you lose your fire, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Unless you're Nasir, you can
Yeah.
make fire without it or something.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So,
Yeah.
okay.
Yes, it's a new thing. Maybe he'll bring in new stuff. It's a new era, as they say, and sorry for you could be a new phrase. Maybe we'll get something different going on. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Do you have a
Yeah.
catchphrase, Peridiam?
I do have repeated lines in my videos that I always go to, and it's actually an interesting. When I start writing, I write every video. I script everything.
Yeah.
So when I start out, I do get into like the usual, ladies and gents, internet. My name is Peridiam, and I always initially I go back to my old videos. I never said that. It just became like a very generic intro. But
Yeah.
the moment I write it out on my script, it like my brain just starts falling into place.
You have video guy.
Video guy, yes, I could say that, and I end it with the same generic. I say like, I hope you guys enjoyed the video, or I hope I actually got rid of the guys. I hope you enjoy the video. I hope you all enjoy the video. Or I switch it up now. Microsoft Word highlighted it with the squiggly and said it's inclusivity. It's an interesting little thing.
I didn't even know they had that. Clippy.
I didn't know it either until after the premiere episode. I was writing the script.
Do you think that Jeff scripts what he's going to say? And do you think that Clippy actually deserves the credit?
I think, Microsoft is a big company. Maybe one way or the other. I don't know who came first.
Yeah.
But they came out and they said for inclusivity, it's better maybe to consider removing that. And I thought, interesting.
Wow.
So I did. I said, let's shake it up. It's a new era.
I did
Why
look
not?
at like what I'm saying, because it's like subconscious that you do all this stuff, and I realize that I do a lot of, hey everybody, what's going on? I'm like, all right, everybody, check.
Yeah. I used to say like, thank you guys for watching, and now I'm like maybe switch it up just to see what it feels like.
What are you gonna go with?
A lot of times, I don't know if I pull up my latest script even, I have it up here.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even know if I thank my patrons, of course. And I usually give a little quick little wit, like for being my honorable mentions in a video where I don't have honorable mentions. I hope you enjoyed the video. And I always end it with the usual, I say like, and don't forget on your way out, kind of like how Jeff ends with like a something as they walk out of tribal council. I always give a quick little, so like, in this case, sometimes I make it jokey or I make it more poignant. And I said, like, it's not always about the destination. Enjoy the journey too, sort of in the wake of the whole debacle with all the advantages this week. But then I end it with like, and I'll see you in the next one. And then that's where the joke comes in. And but I always say like, thank you guys. Don't forget on your way out. I'll see you in the next one. Once I do this thing, and that thing is the random joke.
Yeah.
So those are the catchphrases. I don't know if I would call it a catchphrase.
Okay.
I have a recurring joke with Nasir in my upcoming video, which I'm enjoying, and so it's going to go to him. He's going to jokingly take over the microphone at the very end. Not actually Nasir, but clips of Nasir is going to end on. It's going to end on him, and he's sort of as a recurring joke throughout the video. And then, just starting off, ladies and gents, internet. My name is Peridiam, and welcome to blah 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 blah. And so that's it.
Can I give you? You don't have to use this. But what if you ended the video of, and everybody, if you didn't like this episode, sorry for you. Yeah.
I could do that. Now that you pointed it out to me, I'll add that in at the last second. Say something like that, like I'll just say it if I'm being sarcastically apologetic, like
sorry for you.
Yeah. If you're not enjoying the season, sorry for you, man.
Sorry for you.
I don't know what to say about you. Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry. It's unfortunate.
That's your problem. Sorry for you.
Right. And I did agree with your sentiment. Like, if they don't care for anything that happens on the show, and that's going to cause you to quit watching the show, well, it was nice knowing you, I guess. Like, if that's going to be it for you, then it is what it is. But there's a lot of good content in this season to dive into, and I think that I'm still here for the ride.
Okay. Let me give you a couple of more things. The great Megan the Librarian called in with a voicemail. Let me see what you think about this one.
Hey, Robin Peridiam. This is Megan the Librarian calling. As a big supporter of print media, I was very intrigued by Jeff's reference to the Survivor newspaper this week. Since you're both experts on Survivor history, I was wondering if you could go back and write headlines for some past issues of the Survivor Times or the Daily Survivor or whatever we want to call it. Thanks.
Okay.
Bye.
Thank you, Megan. So Jeff talked about the Survivor newspaper.
So, JD, if there was a Survivor newspaper, which one of the 5 of you is the face that represents UWA that got their ass kicked by Yasso?
First off, the headline is UWA got their ass kicked by Yasso. Like, again, isn't this a family show? Or what are the game within the game? Or like whose ass got kicked? Like, pick a lane. That's all I'm saying. Sorry for you. Okay.
It's going to be a slow evolution for Jeff. Or a quick evolution.
Right. That's fine. Like, honestly, like, I don't care. Like, but like,
No,
let's just like, you pick a gear. Are we Mr. Rogers or are we like Stone Cold Steve Austin?
I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe we're the monster. I don't know. I have no idea where we're going with it.
Okay. So, Peridiam, first off, would you subscribe to the Survivor newspaper?
Yeah, why not? I'll
Why
take
not?
whatever. Yeah, I'll say sure.
Why not?
I
Okay.
I got my master's in broadcast journalism.
Yeah.
And
I also wrote for the high school newspaper.
That's awesome.
So I know a thing or two about, newspapers. So Peridiam, I was wondering,
Any
maybe could you
ass-kicking headlines?
not that I can recall. Maybe the Wanta High School football team getting their ass kicked. We might have wrote about. So do you want to throw out maybe some Survivor noteworthy events and we can brainstorm the Survivor newspaper? What's the name of the Survivor newspaper?
Oh gosh, I mean, you could start basic and then go from there. Start with just the Survivor Times.
What about the Survivor Parchment?
That's not bad. Yeah, how does paper relate? What paper is on the show? Parchment is like the most iconic looking. Yeah, the something to do with pens and paper or something like that. Putting pen to parchment. Yeah, I think Survivor that's not a bad idea.
Yeah. Do we need Survivor in the title? Would it just be the Parchment?
No, you don't need Survivor.
Okay.
I think we could get rid of that.
Is this the Daily Parchment?
The Daily Tree Mail. Yeah. It could do that. Yeah.
Okay. Yes. You get it delivered into your tree mail every morning. All right. So give me
Jeff,
some.
Jeff comes by with his bag. There's a little scene of the camera.
Extra. Read all about it.
He just chucks it in from the side. Lands in your fire.
That'd be a good Survivor challenge, like Paperboy challenge, where you have to throw your Survivor, the Daily Parchment, into a mail box.
My brothers-in-law growing up they delivered papers, and they one day were getting so lazy they just couldn't be bothered. They ended up taking the parchment, and this is they were young, they were like 14 or 15. They took the parchment and they threw it onto people's roofs. They threw their mail on the roof instead, the newspaper bundle, because they didn't want to drive around, so they threw it all onto one person's roof. And then they got caught, and it was, my wife retells the story because it was the most angry her dad has ever been in his life.
Yeah. Sorry for you.
Yeah. So just imagining Jeff Probst chucking that into everyone's tribe.
Do you ever play that video game Paperboy?
A long time ago.
Yeah.
I have.
Not a great game. Not very fun.
No, it's old, very old, but yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So, all right, give me a couple of events, and let's see.
Well, I just thought of JD, and I was thinking about him doing the whole flip. He's trying to do this trick style shots in the immunity challenge, and something to do with JD, like goes for the trick shot but comes up short or something along those lines. Because he was trying for the style points to look cool while also.
How about this? And I come from New York, where we have like the New York Post and the Daily News, and there's like tabloids, and you have like big headlines. So it's not like a fancy I mean, they do have the New York Times, but that's not what the Daily Parchment is not that. How about this? It's like JD, he's trying to do the finger roll, and it says just don't, and like the J and the D are sort of like highlighted.
I love it. I wouldn't have thought of that, but that's great. Yeah,
that's like the kind of back page that they would have on like the Daily News.
Right. Honestly, I didn't grow up reading the newspaper, even though I majored in it. So I didn't really write too many headlines, but I would say, yeah, that's a good one. I'm thinking of something with Brad. We got to have something for Brad with either him hunting in the brush or the dummy, the fake dummy, something like that. You know,
Yeah.
like something to do with the news of him being left behind in the dummy, but it's actually just a dummy.
Yeah. What about Dummy and Dumber? Brad voted out of Survivor.
I like it.
Okay,
Yeah.
give me some historical ones.
A historical one.
Famous
would be
moments
JT giving up his letter.
Okay. Oh, JT.
JT writing the letter to Russell.
Okay.
Giving
JT
up
sends
an
the
idol.
letter to Russell. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's see.
I mean, it kind of writes itself.
Yeah. JT sends the letter. It's like P.S. JT is an idiot.
XO, something to do with XOXO.
Yeah, XO. Yeah.
X's and O's crosses out JT or something.
Yeah.
All the love in the world, something won't. Yeah. Not enough X's in it. I don't know. I'm thinking about Parvati's reaction and how it was like something to do with stabbing, ripping his heart out.
Yeah. Okay. All right. If the audience has a good one for that, that I mean, these things they don't just come to you right away.
I would. That's a B&B thing. I'd love to have explored with Michael Liana.
Yeah. All right. One last one.
One last iconic moment. Something to do with. Let's go with Tony, I guess. And
yes.
And either he's speaking llama, maybe something to do with the llama one at Cagayan.
Okay.
With Cass, yelling at Cass, and you know, I don't know off the top of my head.
Yeah,
though.
I think there should be have llama puns, like llama mia.
Yeah, that's a good one. What do you think? Do you have a moment in your head that's sticking out to you, like an iconic Survivor moment?
Yeah. I mean, I guess the big ones of Eric Reichenbach giving the necklace away.
That's a good one.
How would that be covered? I mean, he's an ice cream scooper. Give up the necklace. It'd be like jewelry heist. The Black Widow Brigade steals the necklace from Eric, voted out at Tribal Council.
Yeah. That's a good one. Yeah. Or I'm just thinking of something to do with incorporating the word scoop into it.
Yeah.
Ice cream scoops. No more to give or
yeah,
something
ice
like
cream
that.
scoopers hopes melted.
Yeah, something along those lines.
Okay. All right. Let me see. I have one other clip I wanted to play for you here today. JD had a very colorful analogy this week where he talked about just how bad things had gotten for him.
You know how people say when things go bad, crap hit the fan. Today it was like crap hit the fan and the fan was made of crap.
Peridiam, this was a very graphic analogy that JD gave us. You can't even imagine a fan made of crap, right?
Yeah, the picture in my mind isn't pretty. It wasn't pretty initially, but I've never imagined the analogy could be I feel like you've got a lot of problems if your fan is made of crap. I don't even know if the crap hitting the fan is that big of a deal.
I mean, who would notice at that point?
At that point, it's just I'd like to know how
this is some sort of jigsaw invention of a fan made of crap, JD.
Yeah, and if you turn that on, what's happening? I don't even know if that's a fan I'd ever want. Yeah.
Is this the ultimate prank you could do to somebody of if you really want to get somebody I mean, JD is 20. Is he in some fraternity where they've done this stunt where they get them with the old crap fan where you walk in the room and then turn the switch on?
I feel like I've heard of that being a prank. Not that I've done it, but you put something on top of the fan when it turns on and then it just sort of ruins that person's day. I'm not sure though. Maybe that's where he was going with it, You put take some of my bags of my cat's crap and put it on the fan. We'll see what happens.
Sorry for you.
Exactly. JD's
Wow.
analogies are interesting. He also brought up the crystal one at Tribal Council, and
Yeah, what'd you make of that?
I was
Everybody's
I
crystal.
was amused by that. I felt like that was a rough draft of an analogy. Like I wasn't sure where it was going with it. I thought, and then it became like, oh, we're talking about like physical. Everyone's holding a crystal. Maybe that's the Sonic the Hedgehog thing. Actually, now that I think about it, because in Sonic the Hedgehog, you
Let
have
me
to
hold your
collect
crystal. Yeah.
the crystals in the game. So everyone's got their own precious crystal, and it's like, yeah, I don't know. I never viewed my loyalty as a crystallized. So much tangibly, but yeah, I don't know.
You know, speaking of JD, let me play you one more voicemail for you. This is from Taylor.
Hey, Rob. Hey, Peridiam. Taylor calling here. I wanted to know, Peridiam, if JD had hit his layup shot on the challenge, would he have jumped up to #1 all time in the Time Survivors Hack competitions list? I mean, that was amazing had it went in. Also, I wanted to see if you guys caught Survivor Man's new catchphrase at the end of the challenge.
Of course.
Who was Flint? Dropped in the old "sorry for you."
Yes.
I was really hoping for more, but that's about what I expected from it. Let me know your thoughts. Thank you.
Sorry for you.
Yeah. You don't think that would have made the list of all-time hack challenges, right?
No, probably not. Maybe if we're getting to like the 20.0 at that point, maybe we're really scraping the bottom of the barrel, hard pressed, for anything. It didn't work. He kind of is channeling, he kind of reminded me of Malcolm a little bit, his whole archetype.
His hero.
Right. And I like Malcolm too, but Malcolm was never actually great at challenges. So it was actually kind of fitting that he did this. Malcolm is usually similar compared to Joe or whatever. But I'm like, Malcolm's never really been a challenge beast. And seeing JD try to do
roll a little bit in Philippines. He had
he did it toward the end. He had won a couple of clutch immunities at like the final 5. Maybe final 6 or something.
Yeah, I think maybe he might have won 2 immunities, but I think Scoopin ended up winning 3.
Yeah, the whole shaky hands thing. So, yeah, when I saw that with JD, I thought that is such a JD thing. I live for it. But probably not. Didn't work out too well for him in the end. And if anything, it was highlighted to be the opposite of a good strategy. I think just keep it simple. You're just throwing beanbags on a platform in the air.
Yeah, if they would have had Brad do it the whole time, they probably would have won that challenge.
Yeah, it was I don't remember. It was the JD. Did Brad do it at all? He did.
Brad came in at the end and he hit like 3.
Like
he got them pretty much caught up.
Yeah.
All right. Peridiam, is there anything else that you want to mention from your notes, or anything else you're seeing?
I don't know. I think I'm enjoying the season a lot. I don't have too much more that we haven't already covered. Some growing pains with the new era. We're back at square one, I guess, and I'm curious going into this season what it was going to look like. I think that I'm enjoying it so far, and I'm looking forward to where it goes next. I hope it keeps going for at least another 2.5 years, so I can come back and talk to you again. I'm looking forward to it.
No, come on.
No, I
whenever
said
you
joking,
want to come back. I really enjoyed our conversation today.
No, I was blindsided by you reaching out. I was excited to come on, of course, and being able to play with the RHAP network. The crew every weekend has been a highlight of my time since Survivor's been off the air. So I appreciate it. I really thank you for having me here. I don't have anything else to talk about at the moment, but if I ever have a burning passion, I will reach out again. I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to voice my thoughts. Usually I contain it to 15 minutes about a random subject that nobody was thinking about.
Yeah.
And this is 2 hours. So,
so
it's a lot.
If anybody has not yet subscribed to Peridiam's channel, I mean, if you're listening to a 2-hour podcast, you obviously love Survivor. What are you waiting for? It's free. Subscribe.
Yeah, right now.
Yeah. You'll be getting a nice Survivor video every week, as sometimes a Big Brother video. So be sure to check that out. What's the easiest way for people to find your channel?
YouTube. As long as you have an idea. I mean, most of my videos usually show up toward the top, thankfully, because my name isn't really conventional. But, type in Peridiam. Peridiam on YouTube. You'll find it, or Google even. It's a pretty unique word.
Yeah.
I think Bear, the seed company, actually has a copyright on it, which isn't great. That's a bit of a weird thing I found
Seeds,
out.
baby.
Seeds, baby. So there's that, but I tend
What kind
to
of seed
override
is it? Is it a seed?
It's like a seed growth formula called Peridiam. I didn't know that was a thing. I don't really think that I'm competing with them too much in that category of products, but you know, I did sort of take over the SEO in Google with my pretty thumbnail. So.
You might have to make some sponsored content.
Maybe I'll reach out to them, or maybe not. Maybe I don't want to get them to know who I am. But anyway, no. Just go on
Today we're
YouTube.
talking about the top 5 seeds of an idea.
Yeah, there you go. It's called the Russell seed.
I copyrighted that, Peridiam. My YouTube channel is taken down.
I talked to Russell for the first time a couple weeks ago, actually,
Yes.
and he was very nice, very flattering. He said some nice things. So.
Very nice.
Yeah, it was nice. It was nice. He was pretty nice to me. I would have voted for him. In the final too. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
So
well, thank you for joining us here today. Of course, we still have a lot to do here this week. If you missed any of the coverage on the B&B, YX Lost, Survivor Global, the Survivor Stockwatch, you can get that all when you check out our podcast feeds for Survivor and the reality TV RHAP-ups. Go to robhasawebsite.com/Survivor feed for all of that. And then I will be back over the weekend. Rob and Akiva Need a Podcast. We'll be playing the Reverse Family Feud. And Peridiam, you'll like this. I'll be talking about Squid Game with Chappelle on the new Nothing But Netflix podcast. And we'll have a special guest with us, Josh Wigler, to talk about Squid Game with us. And of course, if you're a fan of Squid Game, of course, check out Peridiam's video about the Survivor players who would do well in Squid Game. Was I in any consideration to do well in any of the Squid Games?
if I'm being honest, I think you could have
I would
been
be
in
dead very
consideration.
soon, right?
I did isolate it.
I wouldn't
so,
make it through the first game.
The red light, green light. I think you could do well at a couple of them, but some of them are very luck dependent. You know, I thought the marbles game might be up your alley, trying to figure out a way to finesse the marbles.
It was in an alley. Yeah.
In the alley, right?
Yeah. Maybe.
I'm looking forward to it. I'm interested to hear your guys' thoughts on all this. I'm excited to hear Josh Wigler.
Maybe
and
the
Chappelle
cookie.
talk.
I think I could like nibble the cookie down to forget the needle. All right.
Right.
So, thank you so much. Of course, thank you all for listening. Take care, everybody. Have a good one. Bye.